Rihanna, what's the deal? It's your folks, Shaka. Wanted to share my thoughts with y'all real quick. So, y'all, I was past a clip featuring this dude, Tariq Nasheed, and someone wanted my thoughts on what he had to say in response to some foreign African saying negative things about a number of historic figures, two of them being Malcolm X and MLK, two individuals that I spoke on a number of times on this platform and various others. And so they wanted to get my thoughts on what he had to say specifically about them too. I'm going to hit play and I'll be back to respond.
To get on TikTok and denigrate our foundational Black American icons. That's like a thing with them. It's not like we're cherry picking. It's like they're loud and proud. There's a bunch of videos of tethers getting on TikTok talking about Malcolm X wasn't shit, Dr. Martin Luther King wasn't shit, the Black Panthers wasn't shit, Shahrazad Ali wasn't shit, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson wasn't shit. Just denigrating our icons. So this woman was talking about Dr. King was banging a bunch of white women and whoop whoop whoop, and he had a white girlfriend. Just all of this CIA, FBI shit that ain't never been proven. Let me tell you something. If Dr. King was doing all that back then, the media would have been blasting it back then. They wouldn't have kept it secret. If Dr. King was doing all that stuff, they would have blasted that. All this stuff about Malcolm. If Malcolm was out here doing all this stuff.
I kind of heard what he had to say. And just jumping into it, man, him saying that MLK and Malcolm X would have made headwaves, okay, or headlines for suspect things that they may have been doing back in those times, that's major cap. Because, see, the thing is about these groups and corporations and outlets that stood and now do benefit from the civil rights being passed, they really get on code. Like what he say him and his people do. And so when they decided that they were going to map out this civil rights and get it passed, okay, in an effort to benefit them greatly, as we can see today, they had everybody on board, okay? All of the media outlets and everything. So everything that you seen from that time was controlled and scripted, okay? And so something such as the media or whatever going out of their way to speak about like suspect things that MLK did that would have been counterproductive to the civil rights being passed, that was not going to happen, okay, under any circumstances. So him saying that is kind of like major cap, all right? But you kind of expect for him to say such a thing because, like I told y'all before, people like Tariq Nasheed and various different other characters that they got up front, they ain't nothing but the same group of people that was selling so-called black folks the civil rights back then, one way or the other, okay? That's all that they are. And so you're never going to see them really have much of an opposition, okay, to the civil rights for real, okay? They're in the game to perpetuate it, to make sure that you continue to buy into it, but it just needs to be tweaked a little bit, all right? That's their purpose out here. And so when you hear Tariq pull up to say the things that he say and defend Malcolm X and MLK, that's a part of his position, okay? And a number of these other dudes, like I say, all of them are just the same characters from back then. But I've always told y'all before, a lot of people think this is a reach. Umar and Tariq Nasheed, they ain't nothing but the modern day MLK and Malcolm X, okay? Their notoriety is not as great as theirs was back then because they don't need them for the same thing, okay? And that's just the truth of the matter. So he's going to always pull up, and a number of these other people, they're going to always pull up to defend them because they benefit from the civil rights being passed too. Okay, and that's just the truth of the matter. And I've said this before. That is the number one reason why the civil rights was passed. Okay, it was very strategic, but they had a number of these so-called black folks that wanted to tap dance on the other side. Okay, in these influential places, selling black folks the idea that they need to switch up, because it wasn't just because Black Wall Street got bombed. Okay, a lot of y'all like to go on that narrative. Anybody that say that, I immediately know that they not too smart, and they don't really know what was going on back then, because so-called black folks was prominent all over this country. I mean, even here in the Midwest, Kansas City area. Okay, black folks had a lot going on. All right, back in those times. Even the self-made chick, that she even passed through here. She got some history up here. All right, so it wasn't just Black Wall Street. All right, but yeah, man, that's why people like Tariq Nasheed is up front, and that's also the reason why he uh, keeps reparations alive. No matter how irrational it sounds, it's a part of his job. Okay, because a lot of people talk about how when MLK, close to his demise, he was talking about going to go get a check. That was just him giving black folks another narrative to chase. Okay, to keep you from saying, oh, okay, so we got this, we about to go back to trying to build again. That's all it was. And see, dudes like Tariq Nasheed, Umar, and all these various other people, right? They're recruited, okay, to perpetuate those people. All right. So you're just seeing modern versions of them, believe it or not. Okay. So I'm not really surprised by what he says in defense of MLK and Malcolm X. Okay. And a lot of people will say such things like, well, you know, Malcolm X was not in opposition. He was controlled opposition. You know what I'm saying? Because we even did a little research on him, and what you find out about him, he was easily to strategically exploit, okay? Because they find out at the end, all he wanted to do was belong, okay? That's the reason why he sold black folks integration towards the end of his life. You did. And that's just the truth of the matter, man. And the last thing I really want to say about this is things like this and statements that he's up front saying, okay, and standing on, these are the number one reasons why we do not associate ourselves with FBA. Okay? Absolutely not. All right? You know what I'm saying? Because in our opinion, FBA represents a non-progressive group of so-called black people. They represent an example of not being really progressive. And when you kind of see how people sit around and rally and support these old bedrock statements that have been exposed, and we done put two and two together about them, man, that ain't the group we want to associate ourselves with over here. You dig? But anyway, man, I want to go ahead and say that, and I'll just leave it there. 300.